WECT investigates. The New Hanover County Board of Elections is moving closer to removing its suspended director.
Sources close to the process tell WECT News the board will petition the state this week to remove Danae Harris after she claimed misconduct by some county leaders. WECT's Connor Smith learning new details about the situation. Now, Connor, some new findings seem to have undercut her allegations of misconduct.
That's right, John. And I've also learned the county has spent thousands of dollars looking into allegations like county staff allegedly tampering with her email. Tonight, we're showing you the initial findings of that investigation. The team in charge of elections in New Hanover County is working without a director. Danae Harris is on paid suspension, and sources close to the process tell WECT that later this week, the Board of Elections will petition the state board to remove her. County Board Chair Jamie Getty declined to offer many details after a 3-hour closed session meeting Monday night.
We're not prepared to name an interim director or any director. The director, who's the director, remains the director at this time.
Harris alleges County Manager Chris Coudray, along with Getty, have bullied her after expressing various concerns. Harris calls her suspension retaliation. Getty says she's not worried about the misconduct allegations.
No, I don't have any concerns.
Harris alleges county staff may have deleted her emails or sent them without her knowledge. Last week, Getty signed off on this contract. The county paid $2,600 for an outside forensic review.
Yeah, it was a computer review to make sure that there were no issues with the computer.
On Thursday, deputies with the New Hanover County Sheriff's Office picked up Harris's laptop from her house. And on Monday, the county's head of IT said so far the investigation has found, quote, zero evidence of unauthorized access. A preliminary summary of the investigation found Harris's allegations, quote, did not have any factual basis. That investigation continues, as does the county's review of Harris's status. But it's unclear how long that could take or if she'll remain on the job. Now, Getty had no comment on the investigation's findings, and Harris also hasn't responded to multiple requests for comment today. She had previously told us she would answer our questions on camera this week, but we're still working to get her response. John?
Well, Connor, we talked a moment ago about the county board petitioning the state possibly to remove Harris. How would that whole process work?
Yeah, well, the decision to remove her actually falls on the state elections executive director. Harris would have 15 days to respond once she receives any petition. Now, the state elections board would not confirm if they have received a petition, but they tell me they are aware of this situation and they're monitoring it.
All right, we know you'll keep us up to date. Connor, thanks.